Are you and your baby ready to start solid foods, but you just don't know where to begin? Here's a quick and easy pathway for that. First of all, babies typically are ready to start eating foods when they're physically stronger. So typically when they're about ready to start sitting up, which happens around 6 months old. At about 6 months old, they're doing what we call tripoding, which is holding on, sitting up with both hands, or they can start sitting up on their own when you sit them. That happens between 6 and 7 months old. And that's when they're ready to start. So the goal when you start feeding is not to say, baby, eat. The goal is, let's get to learn how to eat. They've been so used to either breastfeeding or bottle feeding, and they're tongue thrusters. So their tongue tends to push out, and that's how they tend to drink from the bottle or the breast. What happens is, you can't do that with a spoon. So in the beginning, expect to be a little bit frustrated that your baby's probably not going to do much of anything, but it's a great time. It's a time for exploration. It's a time for fun. You get to see your baby's facial reactions for every new food that they're going to have. The first thing to start with is iron-fortified cereals. So things like rice cereal, oat cereal, barley cereal, wheat cereal. The last thing is mixed cereals. So why do I say last? You want to make sure your baby's not having an allergic reaction to anything that they're having in their diet. And that means iron-fortified cereals, because that's new for them, and you never know if you can have a reaction. I remember one time, a mom started her little baby, 6 months old, on mixed fruit and mixed cereals. And then within a few days, whole body rash broke out. So it was obvious that there were hives everywhere. The baby was allergic to something in that mixed fruit, mixed cereal mess, which is why I say never start with it. So she removed everything and started the cereals up again. Guess what? That baby had a rare allergy to rice cereal. So that meant no mixed cereals ever for that baby. So you don't want that to happen to you. Just pick it one at a time. Typically we'll say to start with rice cereal. It's the least allergenic of all the cereals. The last cereal we want you to try is wheat cereal. Your baby will have a higher chance of being allergic to wheat. So that's the last one. What time frame do you spread food apart? Well, we want, again, watch for those allergic reactions. We're not necessarily talking about redness around the lips or around the chin, because that food is going to just drool and fall, and even on the upper chest. It's very typical, and it's not an allergic reaction. It's just a sensitivity of the skin to a new food that they've never had before. Typically, we'll tell you to wait 5 to 7 days before you introduce another new food. So for example, you start with some rice cereal, and the next food about 5 to 7 days later could be oat cereal. You can either buy these cereals over the counter, or you could make your own type of porridge. So it's up to you how you want to do that. Pretty easy to cook rice and then put it in a blender. You can add some water and make it as loose as the baby wants. In the beginning, looser is better, because babies can't really grasp much. And like I said, just be prepared that it's going to be very frustrating, because you're going to be like, I made this and they didn't eat it. And typically what I'll tell people is, you probably won't even get 1 tablespoon of baby food in your baby to start with. So don't stress, just have fun with it. Scoop it up, put it back in, get a little bit more, wiping constantly to prevent any rash. And it's supposed to be a fun experience. So what's next? Typically we'll say iron-fortified cereals, vegetables, and then fruits. And then we start going into other foods. I'll typically advise people to start with something like sweet green peas. It's a little bit of a sweeter taste, and you do still have that little bitter taste, and it's the right combination for them. Babies also love carrots, and they love sweet potato as well. You want to be careful, and you want to make sure you have a balance in your baby's diet, because too much of those can leave you kind of this carrot-looking, orangish, yellowish type of baby. And we call that carrot anemia, because a lot of the jar foods have a lot of carrots and sweet potatoes in them. So you always want to balance that with other foods. So as you're going along, so typically let's say you'll start with sweet green peas. The next thing I might advise is 5 to 7 days later is try something like bananas. And that's going to be fun too, because it's a whole different flavor for your baby's palate. And we recommend several different types of fruits to start with. Typically, what are good fruits to start with? We'll say bananas, apples, pears, peaches. Great things to start. What are the things you should avoid? Exotic fruits. That means papaya, mango, avocado, for example. I once had a mom that came to me because her baby had a lot of diarrhea, and she was giving the baby avocado at 6 months old. She insisted that I had recommended this, and I said, oh no. Do you know how I know I never recommended that to you? She said, how? I've never recommended avocado for a 6-month-old in my whole life. And then she said, oh, maybe it was on Google. I said, yeah, that might have been the case. So she stopped the avocado and reintroduced it about 9 months old, and that's when things were fine and no more diarrhea. Next stage is having a little bit more of those solid foods. That typically happens around 9 months old when they're starting to crawl. So we go from sitting to crawling to standing, 6-month-old, 9-month-old, 1-year-old, more or less. And that's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 feeds. I hope you found this helpful, and please share it with a friend. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. I have some great free guides on my website, drsilvakidsgrow.com. I also have them in the comments below, so you can click on that. Things like Mindful Mom 101, Fever Tips 101, 30 fun activities for when you're bored at home, and more. And there's also some trainings there as well. Just go to the shop and you'll find guides and you'll find trainings. Until the next time, please be kind to yourself, and bye-bye.